Let's go!
A disclaimer! The following video is made for educational purposes, therefore it is protected under Section 107 United States Copyright Law. Speed Racer is owned by Tatsunoko Productions and is now distributed by Funimation. Please support the official release if you can. Most young anime fans don't know this, but it has been 50 years since the classic Japanimated series Speed Racer graced the television. A show most of these young audiences have only heard of from their parents. That one 2008 movie they probably didn't watch, or a Butch Hartman parody. Yet, very few of them have ever seen the real deal. Well, despite being made in 1967, this show is still a blast to watch. Now, it's not perfect by any means. There are animation errors, repeated frame loops, and occasionally rushed dubbing.
What's the big idea, Duggery? Now Speed won't be able to enter the Sword Mountain race.
Speed's going to be a professional racer? That's very interesting.
But, low-budget faux pas aside, Speed Racer is a simple, yet surprisingly engaging show. In this digital age where one can watch what they want whenever they want, people can often forget that there was a time when shows had to be watched when they were on air. Let us rewind back to a time, in 1967 that is, where we watched Lyndon B. Johnson on our tube television. And when the Monkees were playing I'm a Believer long before Smash Mouth was even conceived. During this time, watching cartoons was something only children engaged in. Disney was still considered the frontrunner in the medium, but when it came to television, most people think of the classics such as Looney Tunes or Tom and Jerry. However, with the success of the comic book-esque series Johnny Quest by TV animation giant Hanna-Barbera, they and other companies such as DC and Marvel created a boom of comic book hero-based shows to promote their already successful brands. This boom of action and adventure was the perfect atmosphere for the company Lux to localize and dub a Japanese cartoon from Tatsunoko Productions, Maka Go Go Go, a cartoon based on the manga by Tatsuo Yoshida. It's about Go Mifune, a young racer who drives a special car with 7 special gadgets his father built. On his races against sometimes equally fantastical cars, Go and his loved ones often end up in dangerous, life-threatening situations. But who is Fukuman Reza? When Translux bought the rights in 1967, one of their subsidiaries hired Peter Fernandez, who, at the time, had ghostwritten for both Astro Boy and Gigantor, to translate and dub the scripts, with 3 other voice actors at $250 each completed script, and with no residuals. Little did they know they had a hit on their hands. But what set Speed Racer apart from other shows during that period? Was it because the series had a catchy theme song? Was it because the cinematography focused more on the character expressions instead of animation fluidity? Or was it really because the characters talked really fast?
I told that you're one of the greatest racers in the world. Is that true? Who are you, anyway? Snake Oil is the name, and I'm a pretty good racer myself. Why don't we have a race to see which one of us is better? Okay, let's go.
Well, unlike the fluid animation and the slapstick comedies of cartoons such as Tom and Jerry, or the over-the-top epic action fantasies of all the superhero shows, it was very apparent that Speed Racer took place in a more realistic world. There weren't really any giant monsters. All the enemies were human. What little slapstick there was few and far between. What slapstick there was tastefully limited to Speed's cheeky younger brother Spritle and his smart pet monkey Chim Chim. In fact, Speed Racer was one of the few people to showcase the martial art of karate in 60s TV animation. While it isn't explicitly stated in the anime, in the manga, Pop's Racer is both a judoka and a karateka, so it can be inferred that Speed Racer is in fact using karate techniques taught to him by Pops. The danger of this action-adventure series felt like it had high stakes. The races were perilous. When other racers crashed, 9 out of 10 times they were never seen again. They were dead. And those guns they're shooting? Those are bullets. And they hit. But why should we care about these stakes? Well, it's because we care about the characters. Speed is one of the very first shonen anime protagonists. His goal?
I want to be a professional racer. I want to be the top champion. I want that more than anything in the world.
It's a big goal, yes. But it's a personal goal. A goal which actually gets Speed into a lot of trouble that follows him on his adventures. Speed is a proactive protagonist. He is usually the driving force, so to speak, of all the challenges he and his colorful family and friends come across. In the early episode of Challenge of the Masked Racer, Speed is warned by the mysterious Racer X to not enter the trans-country race because of a devious, behind-the-scenes corruption from the Alpha team. But instead, Speed challenges Racer X to a race, which ends up getting him knocked out. Later in the series, in the episode The Fastest Car on Earth, Speed's drive to go as fast as he can gets him tricked tricked into taking V-gas, a dangerous mind-altering substance which allows the user to control a fatally powerful car, but has an incredible side effect. Or in the episode Gang of Assassins, in which while sightseeing Japan with his girlfriend Trixie, he hears on the radio of a bombing that took out half a dozen diplomats. He doesn't have to go out and investigate, but being a young hot-blooded man, he does and nearly gets himself killed by an international crime syndicate. Luckily, Speed's friends and family are usually there to get him out of the trouble. However, Speed isn't the only one with personal goals. Unlike most villains of that day, who were bad guys for the sake of being bad, Speed Racer featured a handful of antagonists with morally gray personal goals, such as family vengeance or stealing money for a handicapped loved one. Pretty deep for a mid-60s cartoon show.
Right, it's me. Delicia, I've got to make a trip somewhere, and this young man has very kindly offered to give me a lift in his car.
Classic anime Fist of the North Star is said to be a combination of Mad Max's World starring Bruce Lee. In a similar fashion, Speed Racer and its lesser-known prototypes Pilot Ace and Mach Sanshiro are said to be Viva Las Vegas's Elvis Presley, who is driving the car from James Bond's Goldfinger. The original Maka Go 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 anime has gone on to influence many other Japanese series. One example is the Capcom video game series Mega Man, or Rockman in Japan, where our main character is followed and sometimes protected by a mysterious older brother Proto-Man, aka Blues, who ran away from home many years ago. Another series, the anime F-Zero GP Legend, based off the Nintendo video game F-Zero. In this series, blue-jacketed race car driver Ryo Suzaku races against the evil organization The Dark Million. Of course, he does this with the help of the mysterious masked hero Captain Falcon, an excellent race car driver and bounty hunter. These two examples mirror the brotherly, friendly, and rival relationship that Speed and Racer X had in the original anime series. Meanwhile, in America, Speed Racer is cited to be one of the favorite cartoon shows of Fairly Odd Parents, Tough Puppy, and Danny Phantom creator Butch Hartman. The legacy of Speed Racer has spawned itself both an American and Japanese remake in the 90s, several comic book series, a short-lived web miniseries, a live-action feature film which ironically is made to look like it takes place in an anime-like world, a direct cameo in Tatsunoko's 2008 Yataman series, and finally, an American animated sequel in 2008.
Things. Oh no! I must have accidentally loaded the Speed Racer enemy files along with the track! You what? I was only doing what you told me!
Well, who are they?
The Mammoth car and the X3?
Those guys almost smashed my father to pieces!
Look, don't worry. I'm sure they're not really programmed to attack.
Speed, look out!
In terms of Western cartoons, Speed Racer was ahead of its time. Yes, the cars and crashes were a bit over the top, but the colorful characters were proactive and dynamic, and the stakes always felt high, totally crushing the expectations of a Saturday morning kids show of that era. It's the very crushing of these expectations of what a kid's show is supposed to be that keeps the audiences watching to see if our so-called cartoon characters can make it out of their harrowing peril. In terms of Japanese anime, it is fascinating to note that the shonen genre hasn't changed that much. Certainly, action scenes are much more dynamic and fluid now, but the emphasis on close-ups when reacting remains mostly unchanged.
He's going over that cliff.
Despite all the danger, mayhem, mystery, and technology, Speed Racer is about a young man and his family, striving to do the right thing and win, despite the odds always being against them. If you are looking for a good, fun, wholesome action-adventure series about family, racing, containing a timeless dub and occasional political intrigue. If you want to watch a show that inspired many pop culture icons to come after it, then maybe what's old can be new again, and you should give Speed Racer a go, go, go. To finish things off, here are some words from the original Speed Racer voice actor, Peter Fernandez.
Speed's endurance has to do, of course, with the age of the people who rushed home to see it. They're in their 30s and 40s today. But then MTV ran the series a few years ago, and then the Cartoon Network. So now it's got a whole new audience of kids. Hopefully it'll be around for another 50 years. And it won't lose its value over that time, because it's still got the family values. And the Mach 5 looks so modern, it'll be a long time before our cars look like the Mach 5. I've had wonderful experiences with Speed Racer fans. Of any age, too. First of all, they always somehow associate me with Speed. And they know I did the voice. They come, oh, I'm so glad to meet you, Speed. Well, Speed was an animated character. How do I explain this? So I say thank you very much and act as if it was something I had done on screen. They feel as if they know me by watching the animated series of Speed Racer. It's very flattering, actually. I feel very gratified having done Speed because of the reactions I get from the people I meet. At the time, it seemed like just another job of doing a cartoon series. We've always done the best we can with any job. And who would have thought it's still going strong? I think Speed Racer is popular and has been over the years for a couple of reasons. The main one to me is that you care about Speed. You care about him surviving all these terrible things that happen during races and before and after the races. And you care because you know his family, you know their relationship, and his family, his friends, Sparky, his father, certainly. And so it's not just a show with car crashes and racing. It shows a lot of relationships, a reflection of life. And I think those are the reasons, actually, that Speed has survived.